welcome to my third rendition of the NES Godzilla Creepypasta narration made by Cosby-Daff, of course. Now, I've done this 2 times in the past. I've done this through my webcam, and then I did this for the first time on, PS4, just narrating all that stuff. I'm going to be playing on GTA Online. But, actually, no, I might, I think what I'll do is I will dress my character up to look sort of like Godzilla, and then start the narration. Now, I know in the past I've done this before, twice, but I felt like, there's the new Godzilla movie coming up, and since I'm such a huge fan of this movie, or no, not movie, story, I would, try my hand at, stupid fucking gnats. Yeah, try my hand at stupid frickin' gnats. No, try my hand at redoing the, story. Also, yes, I have my own nightclub. I have music playing. Hopefully that doesn't bother anything. But anyway, before I actually begin my narration of this story, I would like to go to the mask shop first, and then see where I go from there. And yeah. Also, I have my volume turned off on my laptop, but I'm still going to be looking at my live stream, so that way I can moderate everything and make sure everything is a-okay. So I won't be able to hear what's going on, but I'll at least be able to see what's going on. And we'll just stick with that, I guess. This will just be for this stream, so that way you won't have to hear me go like saying something in the story and then hearing it again in the background, because then people will be like, who said that? But, anyway, so, I've said this before, so the backstory behind the NES Godzilla Creepypasta. For those who don't know, this is based on a real-life video game by the name of Godzilla Monster of Monsters, released in 1988 in Japan, and I think it was released in either the same year, but at a later date in America, or it was released in '89. But the game revolves around you as Godzilla and Mothra going on giant boards, fighting against kaiju such as Mogura, Ghidorah.
Alright, we might be ready to move on this thing. If you want to work, you'll get a knock on your door any minute.
Yeah, the game didn't get too many favorable reviews because it was just repetitive, but a few good things about the game was that you could level up your character, make them able to withstand more hits and have more power. Not power like, oh, they're stronger, they can hit harder. What I basically mean by that is... screwed. But basically, it would mean that you would have more in your power meter. So, say for example, I'm gonna think this will work.
Hey there, I'm hoping it's gonna be a nice weekend.
Yeah, I know it's not exactly Godzilla, but he does sort of look like this, except for the hoodie and stuff. Actually, also, I'm really surprised at how much that mask cost. They still have at least 100,000. Can these freaking gnats get out of here, please? But, yeah, I'm gonna go to a... Oh shit, I just passed one. also, something to clarify for those wondering. What? Yeah, thanks, game, for sending me an email about something. Okay, here's something that pisses me off before I go on with this story and all that stuff I'm going into. To Dragostar 534 from Maze Bank. Motorcycle clubs are more than just a fleet of shiny rides and leather cuts. Enterprising players can form their own MC with a clubhouse and choose from a range of businesses. Blah blah blah. And they're also talking about the Buzzard attack helicopter. But you know, here's the thing. That offer expires tomorrow, that's one thing. That's not when tunables update though, because today is a Tuesday. Which used to be whenever tunables would update. Also, the thing is fizzing out because people are walking in front of it. But what I'm pissed about is not last week, or basically the week before this event week, it was said that if a player either bought any of the clubhouses or already had one, they would get like $250,000. I haven't gotten mine yet, and it's been at least a week since then. So I want to know what the hell's going on over there at Rockstar, because I haven't gotten that yet, like, at all. You would think that, are you sure? If I really did get that amount of money, I'm pretty sure that'd be richer by 250 more thousand. But, I mean, I do have a nightclub, so I'll be able to quickly make the money that I would have earned. But still, I'm really pissed off about that. But, in all seriousness, though, we're going to get a outfit, and then I'm going to...
Hi there! Get psyched for the most shopping fun ever!
Hi! Yeah, I'm going to hi.
Everything's on sale!
Including your mother! I'm kidding. Space creature. It's not too far off from what you would see in Creepypasta. Man, they don't have a gray one. Space horror? Also, this totally looks like a mutant chicken. Like, did they just grab rotisserie chicken and mutate it? It looks awesome, actually. It kind of reminds me of the enemies that you would see in Doom, sort of. Actually, speaking of Doom. Okay, so I know this is also deviating from the whole NES Godzilla Creepypasta topic, but I have some exciting news. I recently won a giveaway on the Doom Slayers Club. I entered a giveaway back in, or not back in, that sounds like it's a long time ago, but it was sometime in April, around the end, whenever the Slayers Club was first introduced. And what I won was the lithograph of the Super Gore Nest, so I just had to put in my credentials, like where I live and stuff. By the way, this is official. This is officially from Bethesda and its software, so it's not one of those scams. Trust me, I would know. But, yeah, but what was really interesting is, apparently it was kind of glitched. Also, Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer redesign confirmed. Not really. Sonic would look even more ugly than he does in the movie, by the way. Yeah, I guess this is fine.
That's a great price.
So, But yeah, I won that in the giveaway, which is awesome. They had a whole bunch of other stuff in the giveaway as well, like custom systems. I know there were other lithographs. Like, I saw someone won the Sentinel Coliseum, which is from the gameplay reveal, along with the Super Gore Nest. The Super Gore Nest was actually in the Hell on Earth showcase, and that was from a burp. But anyway, yeah, so I'm just gonna stick with the mask, because at least that shows that, hey, I'm doing a half-assed effort. And wrong thing. Alright, director mode. Yes, game, I would like to autosave, or whatever. Settings. This. Rex Wolfen turns to Rexzilla, which is ironic because I'm reading a creepypasta about a certain Zilla. No, it's not Truckzilla. We're not talking about Monster Jam. Anyway, so what the? Well, I guess this is a good place to start. All right. So, just a refresher, I'm reading this from the Creepypasta fandom, but they also have the full story on AloneWorks, that is, ALLONE-works.com, and if you go there, then, all that stuff, something. There's also a blog, which is cool. Stupid gnats, get out of here, seriously. There's gnats in my room that just, like, keep buzzing by here. I know it's not wise to swat at them, but seriously. Like, it's just some dumb instinct I have. Anyway, so it says here in the... Come on, I'm trying to make this as professional as possible, and these frickin' gnats won't leave me the hell alone. Just jeez, just stop. Seriously, like, why do gnats even exist? Like, do I have to turn on my fans so they could, like, be disoriented, or do I have to, like, clap? Because seriously, I want to get this train rolling. Not a roll train. Actually, wait. This leads... go here. Oh, there's the train. I'm gonna go to one of the train stations in the game, and I'm gonna board a train there. Luckily there's one over here, so I can easily hop on. At least there's not one coming, because I wouldn't be able to outrun it. But once I get to the train station, or not train station, but the tram station, subway, whatever the hell. I think even in director mode it'll do this. Basically, your character will be able to ride the train. I'm not just talking about the unstoppable one. All the tram in this game is also unstoppable. But, according to the Creepypasta fandom, you know, the wiki, basically, NES Godzilla Creepypasta is a very long creepypasta about, well, just that. Originally written by Cosby Daff on Blog Leech, god damn it. This pasta is known both for its length and being extremely image heavy. It is so long, in fact, it had to be split into subpages, directed or retrieved from here. The original posted in the Bogleach forums can be found here. Wait, is Bogleach still around? I have to wonder. I heard some. Wait, isn't there a... I think there's a station here. Hey, another viewer, what's up? Sorry if I'm not paying much attention. I'm just focused on getting to the train station in the game. I'm not playing online right now, I'm just playing in director mode. Also, if you don't hear anything else in the background, it's because I have the sound muted on my laptop, so it doesn't disorient me going like, what was that? I hear the police! That really adds to the atmosphere. No, seriously, it's like, imagine you're playing this haunted game, like, at night, in like some kind of urban area in an apartment, and it's like, kind of a crummy kind of place, sort of, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. Alright, all I know is... I think there's one right over here. Alright, yeah, I know. Once I get on the train, then I'll be reading the story. Sorry for deviating so much from what I'm trying to do. I'm just really focused on making sure that it just feels like, oh, I'm with friends and I'm doing this, or something like that. I don't know. Only I'm not with friends right now, I'm just playing alone because I'm in director mode. His friends. Sheesh. Yeah, I think there's one up here, because if you look in the minimap, you'll be able to see, hey, there's this. Shit zoo. So people that poop in the zoo. Then again, the animals do that. And people do it in the bathroom, but I don't know. Alright, here's the train station. Perfect. Also, why do the escalators not work in this game? Seriously, they're friggin' escalators. They're like moving stairs. Alright. Now, how about we go ahead and start? Although I'm not on the train yet, but I know that a train will be coming soon. How do I know? Because I know. Because I am the great train whisperer. Anyway, when I was a little kid, the two things I loved most in life were Godzilla and NES games. So naturally, when Godzilla Monsters came out, it was like a dream come true. Well, almost. To sum it up, most of the game revolved around getting through very repetitive outer space levels while smashing up tanks and jets, and then fighting against Godzilla's monster enemies. Overall, it was pretty mediocre, but back then I didn't care. When I got the game as a present for my 10th birthday, I played night and day as much as I could. Oh, there's a train coming. Wait, where? Where's the train? It's coming from... Okay, I heard the... Where is it? Sorry for deviating from this. Oh, there it is. Once I get on the train right here, I'm gonna continue the story. Alright, now to get back to it. Unfortunately, I traded the game for Amagon a year later, much to my regret when I found out what that game was like. Recently, I had bought a new NES system, and through a lot of hunting and asking around, my friend Billy finally managed to find a copy of Godzilla Monsters. I was pumped to play my favorite childhood game. It never even occurred to me to ask where Billy got it. He also gave me some other games like Legend of Zelda, Bomberman, and some stupid thing called Action 52, but Godzilla had to come first. So I started the game and the nostalgia came flooding back to me like a tidal wave. Godzilla's 8-bit theme song flooded proudly through the speakers and I was soon grinning like an idiot. Some people laugh at me for playing such outdated games and... wow, so much for being professional. But I've never had as much enjoyment for any games than those on the NES. Those 8-bit games took me back to when things were much simpler, more safe. But after what's happened with this game, I don't have those feelings anymore. I'd forgotten how quick the fun of smashing things as Godzilla wore off in the scrolling levels. The game bombards you with bullets and things crashing into you from every direction, and you're too big to avoid most of them. Although my excitement had worn down some, it wasn't long at all before I got to my first boss battle. My first opponent was Ghidorah, an obscure squid kaiju who had never been in a Godzilla movie. The most annoying thing about fighting Ghidorah is that he always backs you into a corner and starts smacking you with his tentacle, and you're unable to move until he gets off you. This move doesn't do any damage, but it can stall you until the timer runs out, and then you have to start the fight over, and he regains some health. It's as annoying as it sounds, and of course he did it when I fought him. Only, for some reason, this caused the game to glitch up. Because once he started smacking me, he never stopped. The timer is supposed to end the fight in about 40 seconds, but this lasted for nearly 5 minutes. After a while, the graphics started to mess up, with little red blocks all over the place. Which was weird, because I had just gotten the game out. Which was weird, but I just took the game out, blew on it, and then started again. I wasn't about to let a little glitch stand in my way. So I started again, and this time I defeated Ghidorah and the level's other boss monster, Mogura, without any problems. So then it was on to the next planet, Mars. I browsed around the board and found something unexpected. Where Varen's piece should have been, there was instead a piece representing Titanosaurus. There were only 10 kaiju in the game, and Titanosaurus was not one of them. Or so I thought. Perhaps Titanosaurus was originally intended to be in the game but was swapped out with Varen for some reason? So, I began to feel very excited. Not only was I playing my favorite game, but I was playing a prototype of some sort with a new monster. Needless to say, I ran through the levels as fast as I could to see Titanosaurus in action. Fought Godzilla again, and beat him before he could do his tentacle snack. But this time the glitch started happening when he died. Godzilla's sprite didn't sink to the bottom, but instead seemed to be devoured by the glitch, and his eyes started randomly spawning all over the place. I know it says stream the creepypasta, but if I read something differently, I'm just gonna stick with it. I know now that these glitches with Godzilla were my first warning sign that something was very wrong with this game, but foolishly I ignored it and proceeded on to fight Magura, who this time had a glitch of his own. Magura was twice the size he should have been, which startled me. He was also considerably harder to beat than usual, which is to say not at all, but soon I defeated him also, and when he died, yet another glitch happened. This happened extremely fast. I was lucky to get a screen cap of it at all, but what happened was that the giant Magura sprite started to shatter and melt. Also, if you look at the garbled text at the right corner of the screen, you'll notice what appears to be a bird in a cage. I still have no idea what this meant. At this point, I was about to fight Titanosaurus, and I was worried as to what kind of glitches would happen this time, but to my surprise, Titanosaurus looked just fine. Although some of the game's bipedal monsters were the same height, Titanosaurus was a bit taller, but since Titanosaurus was actually taller than Godzilla in his film debut, I thought this was kinda cool. After a very fun fight with a monster that wasn't supposed to be in the game, I took over the enemy base and proceeded not to Jupiter like normal, but instead to Pathos? Chapter 2, Pathos. Pathos was the same as Jupiter in layout, except the board was dark blue rather than green. The first thing I noticed was that all the usual level icons had been replaced by a blue rock and some kind of orange honeycomb stage. There was one icon that had part of the jungle icon shape, but I didn't pay much thought to it. I checked the other side of the board to see the new monster. Instead of Hedorah, it was Biollante. But that couldn't be right. Godzilla vs. Biollante didn't come out until 1989, and this game was made in 1988. Perhaps Toho put Biollante in the game to build excitement for the movie next year, but changed their minds? I tried to rationalize the game's abnormalities any way I could, but this would prove to be futile. Pathos's music was the first new song I heard in the game. Like most of the new songs, it was hard to describe, but I'll try. It started out slow and suspenseful, much slower than any song in the game, but every 12 seconds or so, there would be a loud crashing sound, and the tempo changed. It was like the composer randomly played parts from 5 different songs with the same instruments. I moved Godzilla over to one of the many blue rock icons that replaced the jungle icons and started the level. The level resembled a blue mountain range blood-red planet in the sky. But there was something odd about the mountains. They had a shredded paper look to them. At first I thought maybe the glitch had affected it, but it looked far too intentional. I quickly noticed something else about this new level. There were no enemies at all, not even any obstacles. I should also mention that this was where the point meter started to become glitched beyond comprehension, but it didn't bother me much. I never keep up with game points. So, without having to focus on anything, I listened to the music while walking through the level unopposed. The music had a sorrowful feel to it. It would have been rather pleasant had I heard it in a normal game. The level went on for 3 screens, but with no obstacles around, I finished it very quickly. I tried the other levels of the same type to see if there were any enemies, but nope, there weren't any. There was little else to be seen in the Blue Mountains, so I tried the other level type. I started one of the orange levels, and my eyes were assaulted with a grotesque background of tumorous orange eyes. The sky was the same as the ground, so I assumed that the game was indicating that this level takes place in a cave. The only enemies here were Motengo spawn, but as you can see, the little bastards were everywhere. The music certainly didn't help, with a mixture of screeching sounds and loud drum beats that sounded like a monster's theme in a horror movie. After completing it, I tried to avoid playing through any more of these levels whenever I could. The map was short, so it was only a few minutes before I headed towards the rematch with Godzilla and Magura. But this time their sprites and attack patterns were vastly different. I fought Magura first. Magura's replacement was a flying machine with a slight resemblance to Pascagoula alien? I don't know. Aliens, am I right? Even the Godzilla lookalike is impressed. Anyway, it was a bit like fighting Mothra, only it moved with a lot more grace. It attacked by spinning its front tentacle like a corkscrew, and it still had an I-beam, except now it fired from a drill. So was it drill cannon? By the way, sorry I'm not able to show any images, but there is an image down below what I just read talking about the, not Magura. That's, basically the bosses that are meant to replace actual bosses from the game. They're called the Not bosses, so it's just Not, and then the boss's real name. So, I'm about to talk about the Godzilla replacement. Basically, the Godzilla replacement is a lanky-looking, weird alien with weird legs. But anyway, this lanky aberration had replaced Godzilla, and the new beast was more of a challenge. It would run and jump at a fast pace, constantly swinging its arms around, making it difficult to get close. And of course, it tried to pin me in the corner with as much annoying resolve as ever. I defeated it using a combination of tail whips and heat beam spam. I defeated them and was going to fight Titanosaurus, but I started the fight, he wasn't there, and the game simply went back to the map with Titanosaurus now missing. There was no one else left to fight but Violante, so I eagerly started the fight. I was quite impressed that Biollante, just as a disclaimer, I know I'm pronouncing it as Biollante and then I just pronounce it Biollante. I think there's more than one pronunciation, so it really doesn't matter. I was quite surprised that Biollante started the fight in a rose form. She was immobile, but used tentacles to keep me away from the main body, which took the most damage. As expected, she turned into her final form after taking enough damage. Her sprite looked very damn good for 8-bit. Battle technique was the same, except now Biollante could move, albeit slower than any other monster. Being hit by the tentacles did more damage now, and Biollante could do an acid spit, which I managed to avoid by jumping in the screen cap. Not much more difficult to defeat than Titanosaurus. It only took 2 rounds, but when Biollante was gone, the music had stopped and there was a new icon replacing the base. The screen cap shows the new icon, which is a red face. Interesting. The icon wasn't there before I defeated Biollante. It resembled a red tribal mask, and I had a feeling of dread when I saw it, but since it replaced the base, it must be the only way to escape Pathos. I moved Godzilla to the square and started the level. And there's a screenshot above what I'm about to read, so it was a hellish looking place with no sky and a flickering fire in the background. The fire looked far more advanced than anything I've ever seen on the NES. There was music, but in the form of a slow, steady drum sound, resembling a heartbeat. All the text on the top of the screen and the life bar were gone. In their place was a single bit of text in the middle of the screen that said, "Run." My feeling of dread had intensified. I cautiously walked through the level, but like the Blue Mountains, there were no enemies. I paced around for a minute before thinking, run? From what? The first time it hit me, I didn't see it. I heard a noise outside my room and turned back to see if anything fell. But when I looked back, Godzilla was dying. I figured it must have been a glitch, but I wasn't going to play through the game without Godzilla, so I restarted the game and went to the password screen. Have I ever mentioned how creepy the password music is? If you played the game, you must know what I mean. It doesn't really fit at all with the mood of the game. It's more like something from a horror game. Maybe they made it like that so kids wouldn't cheat. I was quite annoyed at this point because I thought I was going to have to fight all the monsters all over again, but that didn't happen. The game started me right off before I started the red face level. So I tried again, making sure to pay attention this time. That's when I heard a low bellowing sound. And then I saw it. This thing. Do you know that feeling your body has when you feel like you're in extreme danger? You start to recoil and tense up as the adrenaline flows through your veins and your nerves start to feel very cold. That's the feeling when I took this string cap. I hadn't seen all the Godzilla movies, but I'm pretty damn sure this wasn't in any of them. It had to be something the creators made up. But what kind of sick fuck would put this in a children's game? By sheer dumb luck, or perhaps the adrenaline boost, I managed to run fast enough to get away from it. It ran very fast. So much so that if you saw it, you were almost certainly gonna die. And when I say die, I mean your monster gets killed instantly if the creature so much as touches them. Once I had gone back to the map, I was so afraid, I was extremely tempted to just shut off the game and pretend this never happened. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. It couldn't have been real. And even if I wanted to continue, I still had to get Mothra through this chase scene. But as I stayed inactive on the map screen for a few minutes, my fear was replaced by burning curiosity. What the hell had just happened? What was the rest of the game like? I only had to beat this level with Mothra, and then it was on to the next world. But when I moved Mothra to the red face, the game registered it as me beating the level. I was quite relieved. I tried to prepare myself for the next world. Trance. I was still pretty shook up from the last level when I started Trance. Trance's map music did nothing to ease the tension. As for how to describe it, have you ever heard the theme from Videodrome? That's the closest thing I can think of to compare to it. I checked to see what the new monster was, and it was Orga, a monster who didn't make his film debut until 2000, appearing in a game made in 1988. So much for my theories about Titanosaurus and Biollante. There's no way this game was made in 1988. Those guys at Toho may be smart, but I'm sure they couldn't see that far into the future. If they could, they never would have given Roland Emmerich rights to make a Godzilla movie. This had to be a hack of some kind, which just opened up even more questions. Who made this hack? When? How? More importantly, why? The why was the question that bothered me the most. My immediate assumption was to think Billy did this to pull a joke on me, but I couldn't be right. Billy didn't even know how to make a ROM hack. And if he did, he'd probably just do something simple and stupid like replacing all the monsters with crudely drawn genitalia. Unless Billy had amazing game editing skills and a serious dark streak to his imagination that he never told me about, he couldn't have made this. Isn't it even possible to put a hacked ROM into a cartridge? Aside from all that, my eye was drawn to a new icon on the map. A question mark. I was really curious about what it was. I'm sure you're also curious, so I'll explain the quiz levels now, because this was when they started appearing. These were on every map from here on, and they appeared near the start. When you start a quiz level, you appear on a screen like this. In the screenshot it shows an image of a yes and no select thing, a question, which the question is, do you like dogs? And the thing that strikes me as most curious, by the way, I'm speaking through the main character, Zach. The thing in the middle, a face. As you can see, there's a question at the top, a yes and no button, and an emoticon in the center. I refer to the emoticon as face. Yeah, real creative, I know. And for convenience, I'll refer to face as the one doing the questions. The music for the levels was a track actually in the game. It's the one that plays when you try to use the Ghidorah cheat and get sent to an unplayable level. Face asks you 12 yes or no questions, and you move your monster to the buttons for your answer. When you answer, the question disappears and Face changes expressions for about 8 seconds. Then he goes back to neutral and a new question pops up. There wasn't a time limit, nor any right or wrong answers. Face has no respect for the player's personal boundaries and will even ask you deeply disturbing and personal questions. For example, do you like hurting people? Have you ever killed or raped anyone? Have you ever been molested by a family member? Other times he would ask you questions that were just either mind-numbingly stupid, such as, is the sun hot? Is water wet? Or just flat out ridiculous, like, does your dog like the president? And maybe once per quiz, he would ask you questions about the game. Or a question. With one exception, Face's expression changed. It didn't really seem to have any effect on the game, except for indicating what the game creator thought of your answer. His reactions rarely made any sense, and at first I thought they were randomly generated. The questions never followed any specific pattern, and Face never stayed on the same subject for more than 2 questions. Early on, there were questions that made me think Face was building up to something, only to then ask some stupid garbage. Here are the expressions of Face that I saw while playing. I'll separate them into 2 categories: the expressions I understood and the ones that I didn't. The first are the expressions that I understood: neutral, angry, sad, happy, sick, maniacal, surprised, love, annoyed, confused, or guilty and hurt. Those are the first 11, which were the ones that I understand. Again, I'm speaking through the main character's mind, so basically I'm sort of role-playing as them. And here are the others. The ones in this screenshot are a goofy-looking face, a serious-looking face, face where like the eyes are like not cross-eyed, but like they're looking in different directions. Fancy. Kind of a cringy thing, I guess. Weird Cyclops thing. Upside down neutral, I guess. Bucktooth. Ninja. Clown. Not amused, and cool sunglasses. 2 of these only appeared once. Numbers 1 and number 12. And I suspected they might have been in-jokes from the creator. Their respective questions were, do you like ice cream, and are you a tough guy? As for the questions in the first quiz, luckily I had a notepad and pen handy. I have problems remembering things, so I often carry one around just to jot things down. And sometimes I doodle in it when I'm bored. So the first quiz started, I thought I'd record what happened, and I'm glad I did. Here's the first series of questions, my answers, and the reaction that Face gave. Quiz number 1. Do you like the game? Answer is yes. Reaction, happy. Are you afraid? Answer, yes. Reaction, surprised. Number 3. Are you over 18? The answer, yes. Reaction, weird face. Number 5. Crazy face. Do birds have teeth? No. Love. Is peanut butter good? Answer, no. Reaction, sick. Does the moon rotate? Yes. Reaction, weird face. Number 11. The not amused face. We had a job? Answer, yes. Reaction, confused. Do you like hurting people? Answer, no. Reaction, annoyed. Is the sun hot? Answer, yes. Reaction, sad. Do you like dogs? Answer, yes. Reaction, happy. Is the president good? Answer, yes. Reaction, weird face. Number 3. Final question. Does your dog like the president? Answer, no. Reaction, angry. Now that I've explained all that, time for the gameplay. After the quiz level, I tried the new green temple icon first. Wow. Maybe this is why the game is so weird. One of the developers was clearly dragged out of his mind. Jokes aside, I was quite impressed by the graphics of this level, as disorienting as they were. But I hate those creepy, blank-staring statue phases. The music had a hypnotic Indian techno vibe to it, and there were 2 new enemies in this level. A flying ghost type thing with a trunk, and a bat with a horse skull for a face. They appear at random, but I was lucky to get a screen cap of both. I then proceeded to a blue mountain level, expecting another nice calm stroll. I took my time walking through and was completely taken by surprise when this happened. Not Magara came speeding towards me and took off quite a bit of health with his tentacle screws. It only took me 2 minutes to kill him without having to worry about a time limit. The boss monsters never showed up in the scrolling levels in the normal game. I was worried as to what other rules the game would break. After another mountain stage, it was off to fight Not Baron. His replacement was one of the most bizarre things in the game. The strange creature attacks you by kicking and also opening his chest and heat-seeking missiles. I still don't get it. The missiles were sometimes a fiend to deal with, but I found out you could just tail whip them out of the way. Not Baron was probably the easiest of the monster replacements. The same couldn't be said about non-Hedorah. Apparently the source of the horse bats, not Hedorah, was the most aggravatingly difficult monster to fight yet. Mostly because of his special ability. He could shriek and summon a small swarm of those bat horse things. Horse bat things. There's only 2 in the screen cap, but every time he did this, about 10 would arrive. flying around. Once that annoyance was over with, I went through a green temple level to kill some enemies to restore my health. Interestingly, none of the horse bats showed up after Not Hidora was killed. And that's when I got an idea. What if killing all those monsters makes the red face show up? What would happen if I avoid fighting Orga and go straight to the base? So I gave it a try. There is no monster here. The game told me that there was no monster there when I tried to start the base level. And immediately afterward, the game took control of my Godzilla piece and moved it right in front of Orga. My little trick didn't work, so I tried to prepare myself for another chase, but first I had to defeat Orga. The fight with Orga confirmed another thing. Whoever created this hack was clearly a Godzilla fan. Not only because they picked a monster like Orga, but they actually implemented something that happened in Godzilla 2000 in a really neat way. Orga's primary attacks were a punch and a heat beam from his shoulder cavity, but once you got him down to half his health, he did something new. He would expand his jaws to try and swallow Godzilla, in the process sealing your health and energy. In doing so, he gave himself another weakness, a new weakness. Heat beam into his mouth, and that would take away a devastating 4 life bars of his life meter. With that weakness revealed, I soon beat Orga. Despite how much I had hoped otherwise, the raid base appeared on the map where the base was, and the music stopped. I readied myself as best as I could. I started the level, and seeing that it was basically the same as the first, I didn't waste a millisecond before I started hauling ass. I soon encountered obstacles in the form of a ground tile, suspended in the air. Most of them you could jump over or destroy, others you had to crouch under. About 40 seconds into it, I heard the horrible bellowing roar and saw the spider beast following behind me. Stacks of obstacles barely slowed it down. It would back up and then charge its way through them, smashing them into bits. And when the smaller obstacles got in its way, it would expand its jaws and swallow them whole. I was afraid, but with fast thinking and faster button pressing, I escaped him yet again. I felt really excited, so I laughed and yelled, "Not this time, asshole!" I decided to take a screen cap to celebrate, but when I said that sentence just before the level ended, the monster did something that made my blood run cold. It looked at me. That wave of mortal terror overtook me again. I sure as hell wasn't laughing anymore. I took another screen cap of the next level title, right before I rushed to the bathroom to splash some water on my face, and to take a piss that I nearly failed to contain when I was back in the fucking... to contain when that fucking thing looked at me. The next world. Dementia. back to the game, I was very upset, confused. I thought about the way the monster looked at me. The game couldn't have heard what I said. That's impossible. It had to be a random occurrence, but why did it happen precisely at the time I insulted the monster? Nothing about this game made any sense. The new Godzilla monsters, the weird replacement monsters, out of place imagery like the green temples, quiz levels, and the red monster chases. It didn't seem to add up in any sort of meaningful way. It was a prank. It wasn't funny in any way I could understand, and they clearly put too far effort into it. Far too much effort into it. If they were trying to make a genuine sequel to the new Godzilla monsters, with new Godzilla monsters, why did they add everything else? Maybe it was some kind of art experiment? Some group project made by a bunch of really talented and crazy people? And they lost the cartridge somehow? Or maybe they just intended for some random person to find it. It was all just fruitless guessing. As far as I could tell, there was only one way to figure out what the deal is with this game. To play it through to the end. Maybe, just maybe, there'd be something in the credits. An explanation by the creators as to why they made this. Or it could be something much more cryptic and strange. Maybe even something horrifying. Before I got a good look at the dimension board, I considered replaying Trance to see if the red monster would look at me again. But I decided against it. I wanted to keep moving forward. I was also somewhat worried that backtracking might cause the game to become even more strange. The dimension board music sounded a whole lot like the Saturn music, except it was slowed down and played with a piano-sounding instrument. Like most of these new map themes, it had a dangerous, suspenseful feel. While listening to the music, I looked at the dimension board. There were 4 bosses this time: Space Godzilla, Manda, Gigan, and Baragon. I was surprised to see that there were 2 new Toho monsters this time, but the best surprise was still to come. I started the quiz level. Here's another list of results in the same format as the last one. Quiz number 2. Question number 1. Can you swim? Yes. Answer, reaction, happy. 2. Do you like fish? Answer, yes. Reaction, sick. 3. Can penguins fly? Answer, no. Reaction, sad. 4. Can it spin in all directions? There wasn't any clarification of what face meant, so I just guessed. Answer, no. Reaction, surprised. 5. Do you breathe oxygen? Answer, yes. Reaction, weird face number 8. 6. God. Does it taste good when you bite a worm? What? I don't know who came up with this question, but I hope they're getting mental help. Answer, no. Reaction, annoyed. 7. Is it night where you are? Answer, yes. Reaction, weird face number 6. 8. Do you like cats? Answer, yes. Reaction, confused. Answer, no. Reaction, happy. Do you like your job? Answer, yes. Reaction, hurt. The 12th question struck me as odd, yet surprising. By the way, this is again me speaking through the character, but I'm adding my own bits of dialogue here and there. Would you like a new monster? Whoa, sure. Answer, yes. Reaction, weird face number 11. I wasn't exactly sure at the time what face meant by new monster, but I couldn't resist answering yes just to see what would happen. The result? Mind-blowing. Anguirus! The game took me back to the board and I had a new playable monster in the form of Anguirus. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to play as Anguirus. Since he was my second favorite Godzilla monster, and plus I never liked Mothra that much, I moved my new Anguirus piece over to the level right next to it, eager to test out my new monster. Before I go to the level description, I'll talk about Anguirus a bit. Using the up and down buttons, you can determine whether or not you want Anguirus to stand up or crawl on all fours. It wasn't really a huge difference, but being able to stand up was helpful in boss fights, and crawling sometimes helped dodge obstacles and attacks. You could punch and kick just like Godzilla, but no tail whip. Instead, he had something far more interesting. The ability to curl up into a spiked ball of doom and roll around. You could still take damage, but it was lessened. It was a good way of clearing out stage enemies, but unfortunately doing this also drained the power meter. But the spiked ball wasn't his only ability. When you press start, he would fire a beam of energy from his mouth. It resembled Titanosaurus' sonar attack. And if this were a hack, it might have been inspired by the roar attack from Atari's Godzilla fighting games. Also of note is that when playing as Anguirus, the level meter gets glitched out. Judging by the life and power bar, I'd say he's on level 10. Now for the level. As you might have guessed by the level icon, these levels are green palette swaps of the ground and background tiles from Blue Mountains. But what immediately caught my attention was the water, which had a transparency effect. Is that even possible in an NES game? I know the SNES could do it, but I've never seen a transparency effect on a game on an NES. The Green Mountains music was played with the same instrument as the Blue Mountains, but the melody was totally different. It was a very simple song with a lot of abrupt pauses, followed by a loud note every few seconds. Anyway, I went through the usual strongs of the level, and again there were no monsters or anything, but pretty soon I had reached a cliff above the water. There was nowhere else to go but into the water. So down I went. The water transparency made things a lot harder to see, or a bit harder to see, but it was tolerable. considerably trim down your life if they got close. They also tend to travel in packs. As for the bottom beaters, they're easy to deal with. They swim along the bottom of the screen towards you, and are easily crushed with a roll attack or jumped over. In this screen cap, you can see me about to run over one of them, and there's a pack of piranha behind it. After I beat that level, I moved Godzilla onto the blue castle icon. I started the level, and I got a title screen with the text, "Unforgiving Cold." The level itself looked like a castle dungeon made of blue bricks, with rows of identical white statue faces on the walls. These statues had a permanent look of horror on their faces. There was some also flickering gray static, which didn't really obscure my vision, but it adds to the very unsettling mood of these levels. The music was a 12-second loop of a low-pitched choir vocalizing. It sounded very familiar to me. I didn't want to admit it to myself at the time, but I realized something playing that Blue Castle level. This game has the power to make the player feel certain things. I don't mean in the sense that you get irritated playing a crappy game, or you get unnerved by something scary in a game. But what I mean is that certain events in this game can instantly make you feel something. I know it sounds completely insane. I don't blame you for not believing me. I wouldn't believe any of this either if I didn't play the game myself, but there is something very, very wrong with this game. I don't know how to explain it still. When it was time to fight Baragon's replacement, although Baragon was noticeably originally the smallest monster in the game, his replacement was the largest. It was so tall, in fact, that the ground was noticeably lowered, and not Baragon's head. It was still barely avoiding collision with the bar at the top of the screen. It was just as frighteningly bizarre as it was huge. You might be wondering, how does he attack you? He doesn't even have any arms. Well, it's the most powerful kick in the game, but his other fighting technique is much stranger. First, he blasts a cloud of cloudy breath of pixels down at you, which causes you to freeze. Then he walks back to the right corner of the screen and extends a huge Gatling gun from his abdomen. That might sound amusing to you, but it really wasn't to me when I was playing the game. This attack was almost as annoying as Gigan's saw. Not Baragon could have been unbeatable if he constantly used it. Thankfully, he only did it twice when fighting him. When you unfreeze, you can run up and start damaging the gun, which does extra damage to him. This helped me to destroy him, and then it was off to play the third level type. I decided that I was going to use Anguirus to fight Manda and Gigan, then fight Space Godzilla as Godzilla. It was only fitting. Before going into the battles, I'll describe the third level type. The Arctic. It's exactly what you would think from the name. an icy tundra with a few watery segments. The music reminded me of the Northern Hemisphere's from Donkey Kong Country in 8-bit form. A very dangerous sounding song. It made me think about being trapped in a tundra and freezing to death. There were two new enemies in the stage. The first was a creature frozen in a block of ice. Block your way and you had to use the heat beam to thaw them out of the ice. They look like a smaller version of not Godzilla, but only without the eye. When freed, they do a strange crawling movement and push you back. It doesn't cause any damage, but it's kind of annoying. Dealing with the Iceman, I kept walking for a minute or two before I came up to a water segment. I jumped in, and this time I managed to get a screen cap of how the water splashes when you jump in. I don't know how they programmed that in, but it's pretty impressive. Another interesting thing is how the screen changes focus when you go underwater. Here you can see the other enemy, a little thing I call the Spike Walker. They walk towards you and explode randomly, or instantly if you attack them, sending spikes in every direction. The spikes don't do much damage, but they did get me dangerously close to falling into a pit a few times. Oh, speaking of the pits, down in the water the game has a platformer segment. Bottomless pits. These weren't in any of the original game, since it was a strictly action game. Since basically bottomless pits weren't in the original game, since it was an action game. At least they were a neat addition. After getting back onto land, I encountered a very unexpected mini-boss, Akuma, the Walrus Kaiju. I know this game had some obscure monsters to deal with. Wow, not that I'm complaining, it's a pretty cool cameo for an underappreciated kaiju. Maguma's fight tactics were very simple. He had a freeze beam, and he could charge into you. Not very challenging, but certainly more entertaining than the Motengo mini-boss in the original game. One really interesting thing about Maguma is that he doesn't die when you defeat him, he just turns tail and retreats. This was the first time I've ever seen an enemy monster change direction, let alone retreat. I tried to chase after him, but he disappeared after I got in the water. Bastard. And that does it for the Arctic. Let's talk about the Manda fight next. Forgot to mention it, but the music that played during the new monster fights is reused from themes actually in the games. So far, the themes have been Titanosaurus using Gizora's music, Biollante using Hidora's music, Orga using Baragon/Mogura's music, Manda using Baron's music, and Space Godzilla using Mechagodzilla's music. As for the fight, Manda was a fairly crafty opponent. When it realized one tactic was ineffective, it would immediately change to a different one. Manda used quite a few tactics, like spitting fire, biting, and the most infuriating of all, constricting. It didn't mercilessly drain your life down like Gigan's cutter, but it was by far Manda's strongest attack. One last thing to note that I found pretty cool was that the Adragon showed up during the fight to help me out. Manda crushed it with ease, but it was still pretty cool. After I slayed Manda, I played through an Arctic level for health power-ups, and then it was on to Gigan's replacement. When the fight started, I was very confused. There wasn't anything here. I thought this was going to be like the Titanosaurus fight in Pathos, but just about the time it would have been going back to the map, a piranha popped up on screen. But it wasn't there for long. As soon as it appeared, the speakers emitted an ear-splitting screech. I am not talking too well. And not Gigan flew in and ripped the poor fish into pieces. Well, at least he got dinner. Well, that's one way to get the player on their toes. An abrupt entrance scared the hell out of me and got my adrenaline rushing, which in retrospect was a good thing because Not Gigan was one of the fastest, most unrelenting enemies in the game. Not Gigan was tough, but my new skills with Anguirus helped even the score. This was still an incredibly intense fight. Not Gigan's attacks consisted of some kind of blood laser he spews from his mouth, and a downward slash. I was expecting some hellish variant of the buzzsaw attack, but thankfully there doesn't seem to be one. Howl attack was invaluable in defeating him. I would have taken more screen caps of the fight, but I really had to concentrate. After that, there was just one more monster left to take down. Space Godzilla. As mentioned earlier, I used Godzilla for this fight. Space Godzilla's fighting technique was rather frustrating, but admittedly a pretty clever idea. Space Godzilla would use his energy to create two flying crystals which would reach the ground and become crystal spires. These spires not only block you from reaching Space Godzilla, but it also allows you to constantly recharge to full energy. Or him to constantly recharge to full energy and blast you with a deadly fully charged Corona beam until you broke the spires. Space Godzilla would eventually drain his own spires of energy until they shattered. But if you waited for that to happen, you'd probably lose a lot of life. Heat beams actually seem to re-energize the spires, so you had to use physical attacks. We finally got close enough to hit Space Godzilla. He wasn't a pushover. When I punched him, he punched me back just as hard. Space Godzilla does everything in his power to knock you back to the left corner of the screen, so we could create more spires. By the time this was over, I had only about 5 life bars left. But it didn't matter now, because I didn't need to fight anymore. I needed to run. Here we go again. I decided right then that I really wanted to see the end of this game. As terrifying as these levels could be sometimes, I had to beat them to get through. I decided that no matter what happened, no matter what the game showed me, I was going to get to the end. I also made sure not to say a damn word when playing the chase level from here on out. For this level, I chose Anguirus, because since his roll attack allowed me to move faster than Godzilla or Mothra, chase started off like the first two, except there was a river of blood below the ground. I was beginning to get the hang of it, and the extra speed from the roll helped me get an edge on the red monster, especially since I didn't have to worry about a power limit, and I could just keep rolling endlessly. Like the previous levels with water, the level inevitably reached the stop. So I rolled off into the blood. To my surprise, the hellbeast didn't follow after me. It just stopped at the edge of the ground and grimaced. I guess it can't swim, I thought to myself. So I went under blood and kept moving. There wasn't anything around, but I knew something was up. The chase wasn't going to end that easily, could it? Surely enough. Surely something had to show up. And sure enough, I heard the bellowing roar, sounding slightly different. And the monster was following me in a new aquatic body. I had no idea it was a shapeshifter. After it appeared, the chase started to get into the difficulty I had expected. Being submerged slowed me down, putting me and the beast at about the same speed. The only thing that would keep me alive was my fast thinking and reflexes. I encountered some bottomless pits, in which mines floated out from. I assumed that if you hit one, it would damage you and knock you back. Considering how fast the red monster swims, hitting the red mines would be instant death, so I went through great effort to avoid them. But that wasn't all I had to be wary of. Halfway through the chase, the hellbeast revealed yet another surprise. A tentacle formed of intestine and tipped with a clawed set of jaws burst from its mouth, trying to pull me in and devour me. I only barely managed to avoid both the tentacle and the mines, but I could tell the monster was getting desperate, because the chase was nearly over. About a minute later, I had spotted a bit of ground that served as the exit. I leaped with all the might I could muster, without breaking. When I'm reading this. Oh my god. I got scared. Without breaking my controller. The beast screamed with rage and jumped out of the blood river in one last attempt to drag me down, but I escaped its grasp. This time. I fell back on my bed and took a deep breath, satisfied with yet another successful escape. I was on to the fifth world. Entropy. And that's going to be the end for this stream. I will be doing a part 2 tomorrow night from Entropy onward. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you did, then please like, comment, and subscribe, as well as turn on notifications and let your friends know all about this channel. And as a reminder, I am trying to get to 1,000 subs, so that way I can eventually get monetization on here. So that way I can put that money towards stuff like maybe new equipment, or once I start driving I can put that towards gas money, stuff like that. So I'd really appreciate it if you guys help me out with that. I can't say when I'll have monetization on, but I will say that whenever I do have it enabled, I will use the money for, you know, the stuff I just said. I'm not gonna do it like, oh, I'm gonna buy some big mansion and get a really freaking fancy car. Because do I really need to do that to show them a YouTuber? No, I just need to make a good community. I need to show people a good time by making great videos and stuff like that. But yeah, so with that being said, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time on part 2 of my narration of the NES Godzilla Creepypasta. See you guys then.